Hello, good afternoon. Welcome. This is our second treatment, our second session here in our 90-day hyperpigmentation program. And we are excited to talk with our model and get started. Caitlin and Aubrey are going to kind of lead most of this and just start with assessing kind of where she's been, the treatment we did before, and what we're going to do today. So go ahead and let's get started and asking her some questions from her home care and all those things.
So Lily, when you went home after the last treatment, how did your skin feel? Did you experience any tightness, any dryness, any flaking after your treatment?
No, I just follow all the steps that you give it to me on the direction last time.
Okay.
And it just feel good. My skin feel really good.
Very good. Mm-hmm. And we can even see that, the texture still has a nice improvement, a nice smoothness and softness to it from after the last treatment. How was it when you were working, when you were using the home care products? Were you able to, did you experience any dryness with any of the home care products?
No.
No?
Okay. I don't even use that, blood wine.
The blushed wine gel, you didn't use it?
I use it only not all the time at night.
Okay.
I use it in the morning, but not all the time
Okay.
at night.
All right, very good. So that was obviously then a good one to go with as far as a moisturizer for you. So that worked out really well. So no dryness at all from the Natural Mega Brightening Serum, which is always something that, sometimes we do have some concerns when we're working with that. Sometimes we'll experience a little bit of dryness with that Natural Mega Brightening Serum. And so we either recommend them mixing it with the moisturizer or maybe even easing into it. So we're really glad to hear that you were able to use it. And the chronopeptide worked nicely on your skin as well then.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, because we were using it as a pre-treatment option for her. So which means that if she was experiencing dryness and flakiness of any sort, that's okay. But this just tells us really how far her skin can go, even with the products and some of the, I would say, thickness underneath, some of the oiliness to her skin, more oily. She can really do a lot more because we only put her with the chronopeptide. We didn't do one of the other stronger A's, which you could do that to pre-treat too. Which would take her into a different state probably today if we were to pre-treat with salicylic serum for a week along with the Natural Mega Brightening Serum. So that would be another option. But everything looks good from there. Any other questions we want to talk about or ask before we kind of get into our treatment and then why we're choosing what we're choosing?
How about your oil production? Do you feel like you were the same? Did you feel more dry or
Just more dry.
more hydrated? Okay. Not more oily though? Okay.
How was the regimen as far as the steps? Because you hadn't really been using too many steps. How did that feel for you?
I feel like take a lot of time.
Yeah. You'll get,
especially in the morning.
it's like I gotta go.
Yeah, because
Kids and everything.
After I get the kids to school, and it take me a little time, more than normal. Because usually I just cleanse my face in the shower, and then put on moisturizer really quick. Just put on moisturizer and go. That's why we have to kind of massage it.
Yeah. Get each step. How's the gauze
Wait
been?
1 or 2 minutes. It took me the whole 20 minutes after I'm done.
But that's good, right? It's good. You got to find other things to do. You do one step while you're getting dressed. You do another step and then brush your teeth. You just kind of ease it in there, and it works good. But how was it using the gauze too? Because I know that was new.
The gauze, I don't know. I think the gauze is really take it up on the toner. Because it's only 1 week and the toner only have half a bottle.
Oh, you're using the, are you using the gauze to remove your cleanser?
Yes.
And then you're
And
using,
then I use that to put on the toner.
oh, okay. Yeah, did we give her the 2x2s?
We didn't do 2x2s,
Maybe
but yeah, and that's one thing that you definitely want to explain to your clients. If you're not selling 2x2s to them or asking them to go get 2x2s, is reminding them that they can use a cotton round, but they need to get that cotton round wet, wring it out, and then pump their toner on it.
Oh.
So that would be what we would advise for you to do moving forward,
Didn't know.
and that'll be better.
Yeah, and that's probably fine. So were you using that twice, morning and night? The
No,
toner,
I
just once?
only use once
Yeah.
in the morning
So
because
that
it
that
didn't show any
size,
direction.
yeah, on there, just to
And
one.
just once in the morning.
Yeah. Then that should last you about 4 weeks, really. So you're probably getting too much on the gauze. So we'll give you some of the 2x2s to use, and you can do that. Yeah. Okay. Well, anything else? Have you, as far as the regimen goes, though, no irritation, nothing else. Everything's
Everything's fine.
moving along good. Okay. Good.
And so
Alright.
then
Actually,
typically,
it's feel really good.
Good. Yeah.
so then typically at this point, you'd want to talk to your client about what the plan is moving forward. And so today we're going to be performing a progressive peel on our model. And with us doing that peel, we just want to express again, as we had talked about earlier, what the home care expectations are. You want to make sure you're not planning on doing any traveling over the next week. Okay. No vacations, no laying out by the pool, just for the first week. Okay, no pool. And, just confirming those types of things with your client so that way you know that there's no outside risk of any additional complications that could possibly arise, or, in her case, worsening pigmentation would be a biggest concern here.
And we did let her know last week that we were going to do a peel. And when you're doing the 90-day, you want to really let them know how many peels they could possibly be doing over this time period. It's something that you want to really, that whole time, you want to know what they're doing. I mean, it's not like anybody just goes in on a 90-day program. It's really like anything else you're doing. It's a commitment. It's something that you have to be aware of, other things in your lifestyle, certainly, and then staying on it and being consistent and coming in for your appointments and all of that is what's going to make the difference. So some of that is really talked about on the front end with the 90-day, and then certainly preparing them prior to coming in for a progressive peel. Why did we want to start with the progressive for her?
Well, with anybody, when you're first doing the 90-day series, you want to make sure that you're starting a little bit lighter just to make sure that you can eliminate any complications with getting to more of your aggressive peels. But especially because we're working with an Asian skin type, it's really important to see what ingredients are going to work well and not push the skin too far. Asian skin is just very prone to post-inflammatory pigmentation. We can have longer lasting side effects. So it's just nice to start slow and then kind of see what the skin can tolerate moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And to make sure she doesn't pick too, how she peels, how everything's going to happen with her skin. When you start light, if there is any complications, it's much easier to address than if you were to go too aggressive. So starting with this, we looked at some different peels. What kind of came about with talking about her skin and the kind of rationale behind the peel we're going to do today?
Well, we definitely did. As a team, we were all thinking about different peels to target pigmentation, specifically maybe out of our pigmentation category in the peel protocol book. But after, consulting with Michelle a little bit more about how her skin felt during the treatment last week, we decided that, treating some of the congestion as well as the pigmentation, some of that enlarged pores, that is another concern of hers, would be good. And so we actually are going with a protocol that is in the acne oily section of the book, the Lycosaki peel.
Mm-hmm.
And that one incorporates a combination of using our tomato enzyme as well as the sake peel. And so we figured that this nice combination here will be able to target the different concerns that we have in her skin, really do some nice rejuvenation, get some exfoliation going, and then see how she goes from there.
Yeah, and so really I think that we can probably just get started on that. This should be progressive, light sunburn flaking to no visible peeling. We may top this with the vitamin A peel at the end, and we'll talk about each step as we go through, why we're choosing this, and why this also has so much lightening capabilities too. So we can go ahead and get started, and if you have your books, what page is that on for them?
27.
So if you have your books, you can go to page 27. And the good thing about this that I would want to say to you is not feeling like you have to be stuck into the pigmentation protocols. When we looked at those, they wouldn't be wrong necessarily. The one was the Fade Appeal, I think, was that first one kind of in that book. This just makes a lot more sense with some of the enlarged pores, congestion, and just the oil production in her skin versus being maybe a drier type of a pigmentation client. And then you always have to take in the background from their ethnicity into consideration. And I think that's important here in choosing this one too, because it uses ingredients that really are good for high Fitzpatrick's, and then certainly more of a higher or a ethnicity type of a background like hers. So taking those things into consideration, it leads us into the acne oily category. I could really see you going into the anti-aging category for a lot of your pigmentation clients too. So don't feel so stuck into those pigmentation protocols. Sometimes they will have more of that lifting and lightening quicker for you depending on what the skin type is. But you can always, with any peel, get some lightening and look at your acids and what the whole composition of them is to really determine whether that might have some lightening too, besides the other targeted benefits. So using this one for her for pigmentation and also for the congestion.
And there's a lot of characteristics that are fairly universal with ingredients that are specific for hyperpigmentation and for acne. So we'll describe some of those different ingredients when we go through the protocol, but those two have a lot of crossover ability. So always, as Shannon mentioned, look through the protocols and see maybe an acne protocol might be better suited for the client for pigmentation because of the nice crossover that comes with some of those different ingredients.
Definitely. And so we're working with the
Beta Green Tea
Yes.
Cleanser. And so we're going to start with doing our Beta Green Tea Cleanser. And of course, you know us, we are always going to do a slight modification throughout our protocols, make it a little bit different and more customized. And that's really one of the benefits with any of our protocols is the opportunity to customize it and tailor it more towards what your client's needs are. You know, in this case, we're using the Beta Green Tea Cleanser on her. We feel that this will be real good to, it's one of our universal active cleansers, if you will. And so this will work really nicely at just helping to start to break down the lipids that are on her skin and prepare her skin for the next steps of the treatment.
And to incorporate as many anti-inflammatory and antioxidant-rich ingredients as we can, because we are going to be essentially wounding the skin with the peel application, especially with our darker skin types, we want to make sure that we're incorporating as many anti-inflammatory properties as we can. And so using the heart of green tea with that really high purity and high potency, with the heart of green tea, it's going to be a really nice prepping agent for the chemical peel.
Absolutely, and you bring up a really good point, Caitlin. Between the heart of the green tea that's in there, you know, even salicylic acid has wonderful anti-inflammatory benefits. Hence why we, recommend the Beta Green Tea Cleanser for so many different skin types, because it really can be used in a lot of different circumstances and on different skins to not only gently, reduce lipids, provide antibacterial support, but also all that anti-inflammatory support.
Any questions out there? How does our skin feel?
It feels really good.
Less congested than
A little bit, but I can still feel it in her cheek area, and then, you can see, but you can feel it more. So I feel it the most right here around her eyes.
I don't remember seeing that last week.
Oh.
Did you? It's been there. She said she missed it. Not your
What's that?
pigmentation.
The little,
And we saw.
like it
It's.
almost looks like
Oh, it looks like it's. I don't think it's a million. It could be.
how long has it been there?
It's been a few months.
Then it could be a
I want to
million.
show you last time, but I forgot where it was.
Yeah, I didn't remember seeing that last time.
And did we share with our audience about the procedure that we did before the?
We did not. We did not share that, which then we need to get that spot.
Yeah.
No. Well, no, last time she had a couple of milias in the corners of her eye. And so we removed those with the Lampro, which is a radio high frequency.
Like electrocauterization.
Yes, but it's, what are the two? Anyway, I can't even think of what it is right now. It's on the tip of my tongue. But use the land probe, and that kind of cauterized that or lifted that out of there, removed that for her, which you can use that tool for a lot of different things. We made money on it from the skin tag removal. That, it did so many other things, but then the skin tag removal was great because you could just people have them and find them everywhere, and then you can do that removal. But that was good. So that's what we did last time, which if that is Amelia, which we can look at a little more, we could get that out too. A little closer.
Pretty good. So now for our little bit of a modification, we are going to actually do a mixture of our beta action scrub with a little bit of hibiscus. So the way that the protocol calls for us to use the beta action scrub with the glycolic herbal wash. And while that would have been a great combination, especially for someone that's more oily, acne prone, since our model is of Asian descent, we opted to make a slight adjustment to this in concern of the fact that, sometimes glycolic acids can be a little too stimulating on the skin as far as like an increase in heat. We're trying to target pigmentation. She doesn't necessarily have a lot of blemish-prone skin. She has more of congestion. So we figured that by still using that beta action scrub and then mixing it with the hibiscus is still going to bring in a lot of that exfoliating benefit, just like the glycolic would, and actually even a little bit more. And then it also has that mandelic complex in it. So the mandelic complex you're going to hear us talk about a couple times throughout this protocol as well today. But that mandelic complex is going to help to continue to gently lift and create some loosening of the glue-like substance that's holding those skin cells together. It also provides some antibacterial support as well as support for tyrosinase activity as well.
And when you're incorporating a mechanical exfoliation with an acid exfoliation, especially with this particular scrub with the diatomaceous earth being a very small grain, it's important not to over-exfoliate, especially since it's kind of in the beginning of the treatment. So having really light pressure when you're manipulating it on the skin is really imperative if you're doing it during this first portion of the treatment.
And this one too, again, we talked about with the beta green tea cleanser and that heart of the green tea, and our beta action scrub contains that heart of the green tea too, that ingredient deck, part of that beta green tea line. And so, as Caitlin mentioned earlier, just continuing with all those wonderful anti-inflammatories to really help provide a lot of protection to the skin, especially when we're going to be performing a peel. And I think we have a question.
What are the best products for a pre-care peel regime when treating hyperpigmentation?
Well, most of the products that we had her using before the treatment.
Hopefully, right? Oh, did we do the right thing?
Guess we'll find out, right?
Why don't we talk about the what the idea is? So we want to do what? We want to inhibit melanocyte production, kind of going through that, and some of the other ideas behind what you're trying to do, and then you can pick products from there.
So there's a couple different things that we want to do when pre-treating for pigmentation. One of the main ones, and again, especially because we're working with an Asian skin type, is we want to really significantly suppress the melanocyte activity. With that, it's going to help to enhance the results of the peel, but it's also going to inhibit some of those negative side effects that you can get with post-inflammatory pigmentation. We also want to use some sort of cell proliferating agent to help to thin out the stratum corneum a bit, so you get more of an even peel application and a better result. Especially when we're dealing with pigmentation, we want to accelerate the cell turnover rate so those cells kind of have a kickstart for when we do apply the chemical peel. And then adequate sun protection so it doesn't get worse before we start to treat them. And then adequate antioxidant support as well.
Yeah, and then you could add in anti-inflammatories, and you could also add in antibacterial depending on what is going on with their skin. So those would be other kind of thoughts in approaching what to do for pre-treating.
And with the products that she's been using prior to the treatment, a lot of them have a very complex ingredient deck, so you're hitting multiple arenas when we're trying to work on pigmentation with just a few different products. So you have a lot of antioxidant and anti-inflammatories combined together in formulations, also accelerated proliferation with our chronopeptide A, but also having natural lightening properties and also antioxidants in that formulation too. So there's a lot of crossover that you can get with the products, so they don't have to be on too many when they're treating for home care.
Yeah, and typically I would say you're really picking 2 correctives and then cleanser, sunscreen type of all, to go on the front and back end, but really 2 correctives to work in. And whether you're working it in every night or every other, it's going to depend on the corrective and the skin.
Oh, and I think we have another question too.
Can you please tell us the blend, meaning the amount that you used of the hibiscus peel to mix in with the beta action scrub?
Sure. We did probably about half of a teaspoon of beta action scrub and almost 3/4 of a dropper of hibiscus peel. So you may want to do a little bit more or a little bit less. I mean, we're focusing right now on just her face. But if you had a client that had pigmentation also on their décolleté area and you would be carrying everything down to the décolleté, then you'd want to go ahead and use a little bit more.
How did those granulars feel on your skin, Lily? What she did a minute ago with the cleansing beads?
It's a little bit strong.
Did it feel strong from a standpoint of feeling it or rough from like more rough? Yeah.
Feeling it.
So one thing we could do too is that you can wet your fingers more and get it to kind of work in a little bit more. If, it depends on what you're doing. I mean, in this case, we're going for a peel, so it is going to feel a little more rough. In the treatment room as a facial, you might use a little bit more water so that it's not quite as dry and feeling rough. So it's going to vary. Sure, her skin can certainly take it, but you do want to be careful. And kind of you were mentioning that too, about being sometimes lighter pressure and things like that when you're working with this is going into that next step.
It's interesting to see too that the color of her skin hasn't changed much. A lot of the times with that mechanical exfoliator, you can get some redness to come up and it can kind of sensitize the skin, but she stayed very even through the whole cleansing and exfoliating process.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign that she can tolerate some pretty aggressive acids.
Mm.
Which is good, and that's part of us doing a progressive peel and getting more of a feel for her skin and what, how much can her skin handle. I mean, of course, we all talked about, wow, should we do progressive? Should you do mid-daps? I mean, there's so many options out there, and sometimes, when we're dealing with pigmentation, everybody thinks that, oh, they want to see results immediately, so I better just jump right into mid-daps. Well, that there may be a place for that, but then at the same time, it may be better to do that progressive peel first. And as Shannon had mentioned, just kind of get an idea for how they're going to heal. Are they going to pick? Are they not going to pick? Are they going to be very compliant? And just get more of an idea about what's going on.
Yeah.
That made such a difference, just that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean,
I feel like we see a little more clarity.
especially right here.
Yeah.
I mean, and it even feels so different right through here where I feel the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
It feels so good.
That's great.
Michelle, the massage feel good.
That's always nice, right? Even in a peel, you get some feel good sometimes. Yes.
All right, well, feel goods are coming through. Just kidding.
Shannon, would you say women are more likely to struggle or deal with hyperpigmentation than men are? And would you say maybe hormones might be a culprit in that?
To some
To some degree, yes.
Aubrey, Caitlin?
Well, the estrogen uptake in the skin can have a negative effect on pigmentation because it can excite the melanocyte to a certain degree. But that's not to say that men can't have a heightened estrogen in their system as well. I think that what you're probably maybe referring to more as the melasma coming from like your pregnancy and different hormone fluctuations there, and that can definitely affect pigmentation. But I've seen many men with a lot of different pigmentation issues. Majority of it comes from sun exposure when you're outside and they feel like sun protection runs and gets in their eyes, or they sweat and they don't like it. So it's harder to get a man to be compliant than it is
Oh, yeah.
for a woman, but the hormones can play a key role with pregnancy.
Yeah. And also the razor bumps, too.
Oh,
You see that with men.
Yes, especially
Which leaves
with
that pigment.
darker skin types.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you the fan. That button right there turns it on.
Cell milk.
And then you can turn it up or bring it down, whatever you feel, okay?
Why don't we turn it off right now? There it goes.
And so now we're going to start with applying the cell conditioner.
The
to
cell
our-
conditioner, this is just one of my favorite products for the ingredient deck, but again, working with more of your Asian ethnicities, we want to make sure that we're putting as many anti-inflammatory ingredients on the skin as possible. I think I mentioned last 90 Day that if I get a bug bite, it lasts for 3 months. That post-inflammatory pigmentation, or that, especially the redness, just has a tendency to stick around on the skin for a lot longer than it would with your lower Fitzpatrick's. So incorporating all of these anti-inflammatory components are really basically like conditioning the cell to prep it for the inflammatory response that'll happen with the peel. And then the anti-carcinogenic and anti-tumor properties in here are just added bonuses to prepping and preparing the skin. So it's a wonderful product to be using even in your facial setting, but it's really crucial to be putting it on the skin before peel with really any skin type.
Mm-hmm.
And Lily, how is that feeling on you so far? Do you feel any? No.
Just a little bit of frost. It's okay now.
Okay.
Just feel like you put on alcohol.
It's 'cause of the smell.
And so we're just looking at her skin, wanting to see if there are any changes, which we're not expecting any changes with the cell conditioner. Again, it's one of those supporting acids where it doesn't really, it doesn't affect the peel as far as increasing the intensity level, but it does affect the peel as far as really helping to prep the skin for the main acids to come, as well as providing that additional healing component with the Ursolic.
Yeah, anti-inflammatory. And then what are we waiting for here? We want to just make sure that it's completely saturated before you go on to the next
Exactly,
step.
that it's not pooling in any locations and that saturation is complete. And this one absorbs nicely into the skin, whereas when we go to apply the melanin suppressant, we tend to see it leaves behind maybe a little bit of a shine on the skin. And so that's where we're going next.
And the cell conditioner is in a denatured alcohol base, which makes it a much faster penetrator, but it also is going to help as a penetration mechanism, so those anti-inflammatories can go into deeper layers of the skin, but that's one of the reasons why it is going to absorb much faster.
And so now we're going to go and apply our melanin suppressant. And of course, you know, with all of our peel protocols, cell conditioner and melanin suppressant is utilized. But certainly when you're working with a client that either currently has pigmentation or that you know is prone to possibly pigmentation, you definitely want to be applying melanin suppressant in their treatment. And so again, you know, using that firm, even pressure, following the Rhonda Allison technique, and then observing the skin for any changes. And the nice thing with this formulation is the combination. We've got alpha-arbutin, we've got the azelaic, the kojic acid,
And the
it's in that tomato leaf,
Yeah.
which we're going to be utilizing a couple of times in today's protocol. And so that really helps to not only provide some lightening to existing pigmentation, but it's really going to help to prevent that post-inflammatory.
Well, and this is really helping to inhibit those melanocytes. And we talked about whenever there's an injury that occurs on the skin, just like the sun, when you're out in the sun for long periods of time, your skin looks at it like an injury. It doesn't really know what's happening as more and more heat's coming from the sun. So what happens is you have things underneath your skin that begin to respond. And one of those things is the melanocyte activity. And so whenever we do a peel, we want to minimize those melanocytes to not have them overproduce, which that's what causes post-inflammatory pigmentation. So that's why we use the melanin suppressant in several places, a lot of times in peels, and certainly in Higher Fitzpatrick's. So we'll use that, so when we apply our next step, and those melanocytes wants to come and start responding, they're going to be much more suppressed, and they're not going to have the ability to do that, and that'll control that from overproducing and causing pigmentation in the skin. And so that's the main reason we use that particular blend and acid, because you do have some lightening, like we're going to talk about the tomato enzyme and the lightening aspects. That has the sake peel too. But this is really a potent blend of those lightening acids that she said in a tomato leaf extract, really doing the job that we need to help us to not have any complications with further pigmentation, and then to also help to lighten the skin.
So now we're going to
So
go
the
ahead and
sake.
apply the sake peel. And I just want you to know, Lily, that wait until Michelle is finished putting this acid completely on your face before you bring the fan up, okay?
So the formulation of the sake peel it's really an incredible complex. You're incorporating different percentages of TCA, salicylic acid, pyruvic acid, phytic acid, and some rice ferment
Oh, yes.
as well.
Is the sake peel.
So this formulation is very well rounded. You get so many different aspects when you want to deal with certain pigmentation. But the salicylic acid in here is at a strong 10%, which it is going to be able to penetrate through sebaceous material and kind of exfoliate inside the pore. So because she has some congestion that Michelle was explaining to us earlier, it's really going to help to release some of those impactions and make those impactions come out a little bit faster. And then the TCA has a really nice ability to penetrate a little bit deeper, and so it's going to have a nice ability to denature proteins that are a little bit lower in the skin to give a really nice exfoliation.
Let's ask her how she feels real quick. How would you describe this feeling that you have right now? Is it just hot or
It's kind of
burning, like a hot sensation?
sting.
Yeah,
Kind
sting.
of stinging. And
This is the first time I've seen her skin have any erythema, and which is good, because remember the first 90-day or the first treatment, we really didn't see any. You see some pinkness through here, through her nose area there, but everything looks real good, and that's what you're looking for here too. But would you describe it? And everyone's pain tolerance is different too, and she's never really had a peel like this. How would you describe it on a scale from 1 to 10 as far as your heat level? 10 being like really, really hot.
Oh, this is
Around a 5. Okay. You can keep the fan if you need it, or is it subsiding?
subsiding.
Okay, good. Oh, and I think we have another question.
And so you can finish explaining that real quick, and then this stays on the skin. It does self-neutralize, but we do want to watch any changes in the skin over the next 2 to 3 minutes-ish, and make sure that we are okay to then go to our next step. So that's what we're watching, and then I don't know where you were.
The ferulic acid also, they call it a super antioxidant because it blocks 3 of the major categories of oxidative stress in the skin. So the combination of those in conjunction with the mandelic complex with the phytic and pyruvic, it makes for a really nice, well-rounded exfoliation, but then also those supporting properties that we're looking for as well.
And the rice ferment is where the ferulic acid is coming from too. So it does. And
I
her
didn't
skin's
know
looking
this had
great.
mandelic in it, though.
Not mandelic complex, but phytic and pyruvic.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Well, usually it is a complex of all of them, and that's why I was wondering. I was going to go get my ingredient book, because, you know, you kind of remember and then you don't. But everything looks good. How's it
Yeah.
feeling now?
It's a few more minutes.
Good.
Yeah.
I mean, her skin, I mean, it's exactly what you're wanting
Yeah.
to see. I mean, you're not wanting
Yeah.
her to say, oh, I don't feel anything at all. you know?
Yeah, which some will to some degree, but you know, it depends. And this is kind of, I think she's a little more sensitive to some degree, you know, to not understanding the different sensations too. Yeah.
I'm just curious, how many layers of the sake pill could be applied, say if you wanted to get more aggressive at this stage with the treatment?
Yeah. So, well, there's a lot of variables there.
What was that
Sure.
question?
There's a couple different variables that you can play with in order to strengthen or decrease the peel, taking it from a progressive to a plus or maybe even to a mid-depth peel. But you'll see with the protocol as we move forward, we're actually going to apply the tomato enzyme after the sake peel and then remove that completely. So that is keeping it more in the progressive side of the treatment. If we wanted to make it a little bit more aggressive, we would have switched the sake and the tomato. So remove the tomato and then leave the sake on the skin and let it self-neutralize. And that would strengthen the proliferation that you can get from the treatment. You could also enhance or increase the number of layers that you're using as well. So there's
This could be
so
hot.
many different
Come tell
variables
her.
that you can play with to strengthen them, but I would say 2 at the most, especially if you're doing tomato enzyme. even for
Well,
mid-depth.
yeah, so, but I like how you explained and got to that point. Then what happens once you do the tomato and then the sake is it really depends on what you're going for. You could do up to 3, and that's going to take it into mid-depth range, especially if you finish with the vitamin A. But even on its own, with the tomato and 3 layers of sake, it could do that. Most people would probably do 2, more so. But that acid can be layered, you know, up to 3 times usually is what we do as the most, and that kind of puts it into closer to a mid-depth. But so that's how you would do that. So with this, doing it before and then the tomato afterwards, you'd really only do the 1 layer there. You would never do multiple layers and then the tomato with the sake, just the 1.
And the Rhonda Allison line is unique in the fact that there's a lot of layering that's incorporated in the protocols. So it's not necessarily better to do 3 layers of the sake to make it in a mid-depth, but too much proliferation and you omit the vitamin A peptide. So it's important to understand the fundamentals of each individual acid and why we're using them, and then be able to incorporate more formulations to get that better, well-rounded exfoliation and better overall outcome. And I think that that's just very unique to Rhonda Allison, and that's how we can continue to do these peels and get the results we're looking for, and also doing them on darker skin types. A lot of our before and after pictures are of even your Fitzpatrick 5 and 6, and that's because we have such a diverse arsenal, I guess, of different acids that we can use.
That's a good point too, because I like the idea of helping people to think through, like it's not just peel. It's not just a solution that's going to cause that exfoliation and that lifting, because we could do that with a lot of things. But I look at it too, another step kind of is to say that we bring these together to really help more on the cellular function of the skin, as well as causing that peeling. So it brings more to the skin. And I think that's where sometimes when people do our peels and then other peels out there, or they'll comment to us, you see more of an overall health to the skin over time, and after you've done your post-care and gotten through it. And I think that has to do with the combination of all those things too, and then certainly your post-care, you know, that makes a difference. Did we have another question? Oh, sorry, we need to ask her how she's feeling. How's this feeling?
It's that feeling and that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. So it should be really hot, and you look a lot more. I'm seeing the pinkness and some erythema coming up through there. Go ahead and bring your fan up. That's totally fine. This one is really hot. Like on some people, it's like a 10, okay? So if you're feeling real hot, that's normal. Just take some deep breaths and hold the fan as close as you want, okay? All right, so we'll let that sit on her skin every now and then. You can see frosting with this through it. You want to watch the pinkness and kind of just look at her skin over these next few minutes, and then you'll go to removing all of that. So we can answer some questions in between.
We have a couple questions. Can steam be used with a tomato enzyme peel? And also, is this a massaging enzyme?
So steam is an absolute no-no. No steam, no hot towels with this one. Massaging enzyme, I mean, yeah, I guess you could if you gloved your hands and you wanted to. I mean, you really though want to just kind of let this one sit and do its thing because of the amount of acids that is found in this enzyme. I know we call it the tomato enzyme peel, you know, and it's got that combination. So I would recommend not maybe massaging as much.
We don't really massage with it. I mean, if you had like, I'm thinking of a skin that is just really oily and like thick, almost a men's skin, you can do a little bit of massaging. It is creamy in that way, so it'll give you a little bit of slip. But in general, you can get a little too far and you will see frosting. A lot of times you'll see that on the acne lesions too. So you really just want to apply this and leave it alone. I mean, that's the best way to do it. If you're real comfortable and worked with it several times, then maybe you might do a little of that. But overall, we don't do steam or massaging with it. Just kind of put that on the skin, let it just do its thing.
And the azelaic acid in this treatment is at a 10%, and it has really unique properties in that it's really beneficial for acne. Its first indication through the FDA was actually for rosacea, and then moved into acne, and then not on label for hyperpigmentation, but it's a very powerful tyrosinase inhibitor. So that's one of the main reasons why it is beneficial for hyperpigmentation. But it has a very unique anti-inflammatory and antioxidant component to it as well, and that's where that first initial indication for rosacea occurred. And then it also can be penetrate through sebaceous material, very similar to salicylic acid, and that's why it's going to be helpful for acne. So her skin in particular, being Asian with more sensitivity, also having some congestion with acne, and then the pigmented areas, this is a fantastic ingredient or acid to be using on her skin.
A little frosty? Or what is that all of a sudden?
No,
It
that
looks
was
yellow or
that was
something.
it.
What is it?
It
From
was
the
in
tomato? Okay.
Yeah.
Tomato seed.
Yeah, maybe it's
Yeah,
tomato.
because like,
Yeah.
see that some of these other
Oh,
places.
yeah. Okay, now I see
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
You know that there's really tomatoes in here now.
Oh,
And actually it
Alright.
does. It utilizes a combination of the fruit, the leaf.
yeah.
And the stem.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
stem.
And the leaf and the stem have much more bioavailability for the skin, so the skin can really use it very easily. So it's important to know what part of the tomato you're using, and the stem and the leaf are the most potent
Yeah.
parts.
Yeah, so don't go home and puree a tomato.
Basically.
In fact, when people do that, what happens? That just really sets the skin on fire in a different way.
Yeah.
How's it feeling now? Pretty good?
She's good. She's
We
like,
can
I'm
always
sleeping.
tell with Lily. Lily's overworked with 2 kids. She's like, okay, good night.
How's it feeling for you, Lily?
It's better. Okay, it is still hot? Yeah.
Not as much as when we first put it in.
Yeah, okay. And usually you can leave this on from 5 to 7-ish, something like that, minutes or so, depending on the skin. What does it say for this protocol specifically?
For this protocol, it actually says for 10.
Oh, after the sake.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, yeah. We're doing it.
So we're
That's
about
fine, we'll
halfway
leave it.
there.
Yeah, okay.
A little bit more.
That's fine.
I have a question. With the tomato enzyme peel, when you actually do see the frosting, would you occlude those areas for the next acid application? Or would you apply the acid over those frosted areas?
So we don't, anytime that we see frosting on the skin, we don't want to apply another layer of acid over that frosted area. Now that doesn't mean that you can't not do another layer of an acid if the protocol calls for it, but you would have to avoid that area. That being said, the only peel, if you will, that you could then apply over all of the skin, including frosted areas, would be your vitamin A plus peptide peel.
And honestly, Mandelic.
Oh, and Mandelic.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, which is what I think is called next
It
to
is.
this. So the answer is it really depends on the acid besides those 2. Otherwise, no, right? That you could still go around the frosted area.
And that, you know, you bring up a good point with the mandelic. I mean, that mandelic acid has such a great healing component
Yeah.
to it. You know, I mean, it does so many wonderful things. It gently exfoliates the skin. It provides antioxidant support. It provides wound healing support. Tyrosinase inhibitor. It's just really great, and I mean, we've used it on my skin when my skin gets a little flared up from a treatment, and it just helps to calm it right down, actually.
Yeah, so it calms it,
provides a
but it
little
adds that, and it
healing.
has high wound heal, or not wound healing, it does have that, but the anti-inflammatory side too, so it'll help with that too.
And so again, antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, I mean, when we think about what her home care regimen has been like thus far, when we think about this particular protocol as well, I mean, granted, we're doing, some nice exfoliation in there, we're getting some rejuvenation, we're working with some different acids that are going to target the pigmentation, but the acid formulations that we're also working with have a lot of anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, a lot of support for those cells.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, this protocol in particular incorporates all of the different families of acids too, your BHAs, AHAs, second generation AHAs, pyruvic for energy, vitamin A. So it could be, I mean, in really every category for all of the different peel categories.
Hitting it in
works
different
for
ways,
everybody.
yeah.
And so,
Yeah, and so she looks good, and that's what, when you have a little bit of time, and a lot of peels, you don't do massaging, you don't do anything, because you're just clinical and doing your acids. But when you do apply something like an enzyme that sits on the skin for that amount of time, you can offer some of that additional touch to the treatment, and also help to calm them a little bit. So that's nice to add that a lot of times when you are at these stages, because it just relaxes them more and feels good always. So.
And so, when you go to remove this, with any time that you're removing an enzyme or an acid, sometimes it can bring back some of that sensitivity, some of that heat, if you will, or burning sensation, tingling sensation. So maybe give your client another heads up that they may start to feel a little bit more activity, especially if it's subsided. This one is a little tricky to work with.
Yeah, and so I think she might have seen some frosting maybe, but what I do a lot of times with this, Michelle, is kind of how we almost neutralize when you started doing this, because it gets so dry on there that you can almost pull, and it does start that heat, which sometimes you will see frosting after, and so you just keep watching the skin. It's totally fine, but that can help it, kind of like when we do the natural lifting mask, and you have to kind of loosen that just a little bit, but you want to do it with very cool water, tepid, nothing warm, nothing hot at this stage. That wouldn't be good, and it certainly wouldn't feel good. So very cool water, just get it loosened and then work around. So do we think that that's what that is then, maybe?
This right
Because
here.
this looks the same, but maybe that's
Well,
still
that comes
Yeah,
off.
okay, good. We're like, wait, does it come off? We'll assess this a little bit closer once it fully gets removed.
And that secondary heat and maybe sometimes a secondary frosting that you see when you incorporate the water in the removal process is when you're dealing with any chemical peel, you're working with hydrogen ions within the formulation that work with the surface proteins on your skin. And those are what are denatured with that exfoliation process. But if you introduce water, which is H2O, you're now incorporating 2 more hydrogen ions that are now going to be able to denature surface proteins. So that's why you get that secondary frosting sometimes, and that's why it can feel like it's reactivated, because essentially you are reactivating it with adding in more hydrogen ions to work on the surface.
Caitlin, we love
Yeah,
having you around.
and yeah, I forgot about that hydrogen ion. Darn it.
I'm like, that was a great,
Oh.
that's a great explanation, though.
Yeah, and getting it more wet too. That looks better. And so just doing that at the beginning. I don't know if that'll be frosting over there though yet. You can't. It looks yellowish. That's why I
See,
keep
that
thinking
one's
of.
Oh,
there
yeah.
to me, yeah. That one, just a couple of
It's
tiny
almost
little.
like it, kind of bubbled up kind of frosting.
Yeah. A
Not
different
quite-
type of frosting.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
But again, I mean, there was congestion in her skin. Different things can certainly create, there's a good possibility actually, because that may be a little spot too over here.
Can I turn on the fan?
Yes. We need to look a little bit.
You will know a little bit better once scope.
Maybe.
I think after we cleanse her, right? After she's.
Did you see anything over here at all before? Like anything?
Was it like that?
No.
Yeah, or just bumps at all?
Not like that, no. I mean, she had
Because I don't think
congestion
that
for
that's
sure.
frosting.
No,
I
you
feel
think
like it's a
like it's
raised bump, like something's coming out in a sense. But yeah, let's keep on removing and then.
and then assess.
Which, for her skin, this is really aggressive. I mean, she, anything we do right now for her, because she hasn't had anything, it is different. And you always need to keep that in mind from a client that has gone and had other treatments, other peels, using different types of skincare, whatever they've had done, you're going to maybe see some differences in their skin too and how they react versus someone that hasn't had much of anything done along these lines. So in some ways, this can just be bringing up some things underneath the surface of her skin, which I'm thinking maybe that's what it is. We'll, again, assess it. It looks a little bit like frosting. We'll see if we can zoom in once we kind of get it all worked out and kind of everything off of her skin. But it also looks like little small kind of raised bumps. And I would say, almost like a little bit of congestion there or something like that. But you see it there too?
Yeah, and I can feel it.
Yeah, so it's
I
like
can feel it.
it's not frosting.
Yeah, it's like the congestion's coming up to the surface.
There's like 1, 2, 3.
We may get some really good extractions for her.
Which means we might want to finish for sure then with the vitamin A to really accelerate that peeling so that we don't see that this, what's that?
She still feels it tingle, so I'm going to
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I see some more here too. So we can accelerate and really cause that skin to peel so that anything that did come to the surface from our tomato enzyme and from this procedure will really quickly end up kind of going away, falling off, or being able to extract if we needed to do that next time, all of that. You'll see it heal pretty quickly when you bring things up in this manner. So yeah, it could really be that, but in some ways it's kind of even calmed down too. But you might feel it more to the touch once you get done and can really just then feel her skin again. I see some here. There you go.
How you doing, lovely?
Has it gotten any hotter or does it feel better?
It's less hot than.
And we want to make sure you don't feel any of this enzyme. This is like another enzyme removal where we want the activity. She may have a little heat from it in her skin because of the level of enzyme this is, but she shouldn't feel much of anything else on her skin. So you really want to make sure you've gotten thorough removal of this and communicate with, your client.
And actually, her skin looks beautiful.
It does look good.
It looks really nice.
Anywhere else?
Good. Looks really good.
Nice more question.
Yeah, we're curious, do higher Fitzpatrick struggle with hyperpigmentation? And what acids would be best for those higher Fitzpatricks?
I feel like everybody has the potential to suffer from hyperpigmentation. There's a couple different characteristics that darker skin types have that your lighter Fitzpatricks don't. One of them is that the dendrites, which are those tentacle-like pathways, they are longer on a darker Fitzpatrick, which means that they have more time to deposit the melanin into the cell. And then they're also going to have a smaller amount of keratinocytes that they're working with rather than your lighter Fitzpatricks. They have less ratio of melanocytes to keratinocytes as a darker skin type does. So those are probably the main reasons why darker skin types are more prone to pigmentation, but everyone can get it. There's no one who's immune to getting pigmentation. It's just that there's different things that have to be taken for darker skin types to prevent it a little bit further. And then ingredients that might not be good
Can you
for
feel
some of
those
your darker
bumps?
skin types. Your true Jesners might be a little bit too much for darker skin types because we don't want to deal with that post-inflammatory pigmentation. All of the acids that we use today are going to be really helpful for your darker skin types. But just pre-treating is the most important part with things like melanin suppressant or any other tyrosinase inhibitor.
Looks good. I think it was just kind of brought a little bit to the surface, but no irritation there, nothing else. You can't really see anything underneath.
It looks like it went down too.
I thought so too. But she did say she can still feel it a little bit.
I can feel it over here too.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to look over there at all?
Like
Any places?
right there. Right there.
I mean, it looks good. It looks good, and I don't see anything really underneath either, too.
Yeah, it looks good.
It feels so much better over here.
I'm sorry.
And so now with our next step, we're going to go ahead and do the mandelic arginine peel.
Does your skin feel a lot better now, Lily?
Yes.
Just feel like better now.
Good.
It's not that hot.
This next step isn't hot, really, at all. And we're almost done.
So the mandelic arginine peel contains our mandelic complex of mandelic, phytic, and pyruvic acids, which you've heard us talk about now a couple times.
We'll just keep talking about that.
It is. It's a great one. We can't help it. But this is going to, again, it's a great way to provide additional healing and supportive acids, do a little bit of gentle exfoliation, but a great way to end a progressive peel if you decided that you didn't want to do vitamin A. Of course, it's us. We're going to do vitamin A.
And as Shannon was mentioning earlier too about really incorporating a cellular component to the treatments and the different acids we offer, the pyruvic acid is amazing with helping with cellular support by increasing the cellular energy. So the last 90 day we talked about ATP and how it's the universal currency of our cells. This pyruvic acid is actually going to help to increase the amount of ATP produced by the cell. So it's basically giving it additional energy so it has a better capability of healing itself and also enhancing the anti-inflammatory properties as well. So this is a really nice, as the name mentions, gentle rejuvenator, but a cellular rejuvenator is going to be kind of where it's coming from.
And that cellular support is, again, what we want to do. We want to be able to provide that to the skin, especially with a peel protocol, but especially when dealing with the pigmentation concerns that we have here. Providing that additional cellular support, the anti-inflammatory and so forth, is going to help to ensure that we're going to see a good healing of her skin.
Well, and it's just another element of our skin as we're aging that begins to slow down. I like to talk about it like a battery, kind of like that, like jump starting and how, and getting things moving, getting it like started. If you don't have that going on, everything else sometimes you're doing is even lessened a little bit more. But when you have that awakened, alive, and battery charged, then all of a sudden other things that you're doing to the skin begin to be able to respond even better. So that's a good way to kind of talk about it. And that's why I love mandelic so much. All the components of it. We can't always talk about every aspect of it because it has so much. But I mean, it really hits on so many parts of our skin and kind of what's going on there.
And so, as I mentioned before, we went ahead and we decided that we're going to complete this treatment with the vitamin A, especially when, as Shannon mentioned, seeing, the congestion. If there is congestion that's starting to make its way up to the surface, the vitamin A is actually going to help to continue to purge that out, which is ultimately what you want. And then, of course, it's going to be a great exfoliator for her skin. So we're really going to see some nice exfoliation from this. And it's, vitamin A. You just can't go wrong with it. It helps to really strengthen the skin from the inside out.
We do need to talk about that it takes us into a...
Yes. So this protocol was originally a progressive protocol, and with us now adding the vitamin A, and even with us maybe even bringing in a little bit of that hibiscus, we've definitely made this more of a progressive plus peel. So she should experience some nice visible flaking, not sheets of flaking, but visible flaking, kind of sunburn type flaking. Yeah, that should be good.
I think she needs help with the cord there. It's getting stuck or something. Yeah, it should be good. And I think that anytime you add the vitamin A to a protocol, it does kind of bump it up about that way. But what the difference too, explaining with Rhonda, Allison, and the progressive side, that does not mean peeling that you'll see. Okay, you're going to get rejuvenation. Your cells are going to start to let go in the shower a little bit quicker. All those kind of things that will happen. But you don't maybe see skin kind of hanging and falling off. With this and adding the vitamin A, we should see that, but still lightly, kind of like sunburn flaking, and it should be pretty much full face, but we'll see from her. So
now,
where are we
given the time of day,
what's it look like
is it going to rain? Is it not going to rain?
And does she need?
That's the question.
Are you going straight home from here?
Yes.
Are you going to be out at all today?
Yes.
Oh, you are? What are you going to be doing? Like out, like shopping or tonight or?
I go shopping a little bit.
Okay. So we'll put sunscreen on her and then have her wash her face tonight. And she's got plenty of time to leave it on. You want to leave it on for at least 4 hours, at least minimum. But normally we like to leave it on overnight, and 6 hours is a good deal. So
Wash my face after 6 hours.
yeah, we'll wash it. You can wash it tonight. We'll explain that. But they're going to put some sunscreen on you just so you stay protected if you're anywhere. And you want to really keep yourself as much out of the sun as possible during this whole process anyway. Okay? All right. And do we have any other questions while we're finishing up with sunblock on this? And then we'll talk about her post-care. And we might need to get our calendars too. My phone calendar. I forgot about that.
And so, anytime that we're working with that daytime defense, especially when the vitamin A is on underneath, or you're talking about when you've just performed a peel, make sure that you're just gently pressing that into the skin. You really don't want to be doing a lot of manipulation on the skin at this point, or a lot of massage type movements.
Yeah.
And I think we do have a question.
I do. How long would you recommend a client be on prescription skin lightener as opposed to a non-prescription lightener?
I don't.
You don't? Okay.
We have the skin brightening gel.
We have everything we
need.
need. We don't recommend that, and we don't really talk about that. If someone's on a prescription strength lightener, what I would say, you got to, at that point, follow what your doctor is prescribing to you and saying. It depends on what prescription it is. If it's a high percentage of hydroquinone, we would try to educate the consumer, the user, on what that's really doing to the skin, the value of maybe coming off of that, potentially, and other things we could do. In general, we don't want to be on lighteners longer than a couple months or so at a time, 2 to 3 months, and then pull off so that our skin can do its healthy process of cellular rejuvenation and turnover for us, and we need those melanocytes to be active to do that. And so in general, we try to keep off that, and we do use other things, but I wouldn't say go get that prescription, right?
Definitely not.
Okay, so with her, we can have her sit up, and I don't know if you can get a view of her skin. Everything looks really good.
It does.
Leaving after a peel. There's no real redness or anything to your skin too, so it looks really good. And sometimes after peels we can look a little crazy, but you look good. At least my skin, right? Like a red tomato. So what we're going to do is we're going to have her go change for us, and then we will come back to the table, make sure we're discussing her post-care and what she's going to do, and then set her next appointment, what are you guys thinking for her next appointment right now? Are you thinking another peel? What do you think, just by looking at her skin where we are right now, if you're having to kind
Absolutely.
of decide?
Yeah, I definitely think that she needs, that another peel will be really beneficial for her. Possibly possibly 7 to 10 days even.
Yeah, maybe even giving her 2 weeks just to make
Maybe.
sure she's completely done and we could do it.
Oh, yeah, and maybe do then more mid-depth.
Yes, and that's where we could assess it. I think that's true too, on how we would do that. And we were going 90-day, right? We're not trying to, okay, we want to just see her back for a post follow-up and then maybe schedule it out in 3 or 4 weeks. We're doing a lot of things close together to get the results that we're looking for. So yeah, that's what we're probably going to do, is do some other peel when she comes back. What level that will be will determine on how she's gone through this. So we'll sit down and talk about that. So why don't you go ahead and go change for us and come on back and we'll discuss the final on this. And let's look at our calendars here.
And Lily, if you've got a hair tie with you, pull your hair back, okay?
Yeah, do you have a hair tie?
You
No.
don't?
You want to try to keep it as much out of your face as you can. We can, Aubrey's lending her hers.
You need a hair tie. You want that hair out of your way.
All right, so, and I don't know if you have us over here on the table. I'm looking at our next availability is the 9th. So we'll talk to her about that. Are we already on? You already got us?
I won't be here, but yeah. Where are you? Sure.
Sounds good. Aubrey won't be here. Oh, to keep our schedules together.
I know, it's hard.
It
We're busy
is.
bees.
It is. Well, hopefully you're enjoying this. It's one of these things where we really want this to be good education for you, and also to see kind of live what's happening within a client's skin and how decisions are being made, and kind of help you to create your own programs. Obviously, out of these that we've done so far, and as we finish up this hyperpigmentation one over the next couple months, we'll have those set kind of protocols and systems for you. But some of that is, being able to really then kind of set your own 90-day program and realizing and being able to sell to your client how much of a change you can make in that period of time, which we can make a lot of changes on the skin in 90 days. And so I hope this is, valuable to you. I know it's a lot of your time too, to watch these. We really appreciate your feedback as often as you can give us that, just on any thoughts that you can add to the program itself, any things for us to continue to work on to deliver this in a better fashion to you too. We'd love any kind of feedback we can get from you. So you're back now, so thank you for coming back in. And we're going to go ahead and talk about your next steps. What you do right now is really, really very important. Taking care of your skin. Most of the things that we gave you last week, you're not going to use, but there will be some that you do. So you're just going to put those to the side, and you're only going to use post-care. And so let's just go ahead and get started with her actual home care products, and then we'll go in through to the do's and don'ts and then talk about next week. Okay?
Absolutely. So, as far as post-care goes, our focus is going to be on using a non-active cleanser. So as everybody knows, we've got 2 choices there. We've got our Milk Plus as well as our Citrus Gel. I honestly believe that citrus gel would be a better option for her, given the fact that she tends to be more on the oilier side. And so I think that she'd find that one a little bit more friendly.
Yeah. Probably like it better.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the key, as you're going through and as you're choosing, when you have some choices as far as correctives go, speak to your client a little bit, think about their skin type, their skin condition, what their concerns may be, and when it comes to like growth factors or something like that, maybe even have them feel the different growth factors so that way they can see, which one they personally would like to use. So the non-active cleanser, we'll write that all down for you.
This will be a different regimen you'll follow.
Exactly. And then with this being a progressive peel, she can actually go home tonight, wash her face, and she could start applying growth factor tonight even.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she could. You're like, wait, do we?
Wait a second, wait,
well,
this is
because
Progressive Plus,
it is
so-
kind of progressive plus.
Yeah.
You could, with her skin type, probably just go straight into that, because that would be the discussion of how much. So I don't know if you'd want to skip growth factor first and go, do we need a healing moisturizer for her skin? And what would that be? And I think we have this as an option. And remember why we chose that last week, to
Yeah.
think, that could even follow along. So since we do, she may skip the growth factor until she starts peeling. But
Yeah.
that's tricky with a progressive plus peel, because sometimes their skin, those new cells are beginning to come forth and you're not really seeing it. Where with a mid-depth peel, you get dark, you get brown, you get tight, your skin's about to peel. And there's no point in putting growth factor on that dead layer of skin. When you start to peel, you add it in. So that's where you have to kind of decide, do we want to just let her use it straight so that we're getting it on her skin, or do we not? And I think your way to do it is probably the best, is just to go straight into her growth factor and then her next.
Yeah,
From
so
there, because
definitely.
she's not going to get too tight,
Exactly.
and all of that.
And so I don't believe, though, that we gave her growth factor the
No,
last
we
time.
just gave her
So we'll have to
C-Gems, I
then
think.
We'll do a growth factor
Gel,
gel.
I think would be best.
And what are your choices?
Your choices would actually be regenerating cream, growth factor gel, growth factor serum, and growth factor serum plus. Given that it's, again, she tends to be more oily or combination skin, the gel will probably be a formula that she feels that is not, too heavy on her skin, if that's a concern. She felt that she didn't need to use the blush wine gel at night, so.
Yeah, which was interesting. Yeah. So it wasn't,
think that the
and
gel
you
would
woke
probably
up not feeling too dry or anything like that.
Just a little bit, but when
Yeah.
I wake up, then I'll wash my face and I put on the other ones.
Yeah, and then it feels good. So, if you're feeling dry, even when we get back to this, that's where that blush wine will just add a little bit, maybe even a few times a week. But for this, if you do the gel, I think that is probably the best way to go. Some of it can just be on feeling and what they like better. And then some of it's for specific reasons why you might choose
Yeah.
the Serum Plus or something like that. But I think the gel's great. And then what do we do there? So we got our cleanser, her growth factor.
Cucumber spritz. Might
Cucumber
also help
spritz.
to hydrate a little bit without feeling overly occlusive with any sort of an oil base.
Spray that as much as she wants. It's kind of a given, huh?
Yeah,
We like to give that
exactly.
to everybody.
And, and of course the toss-up always comes into play, and that's where, we do have the C-Gems. The C-Gems don't provide necessarily a lot of hydration, but they could provide just enough hydration for her skin, where, drop of essence would be something that you would want to stay far away from, because she probably would not like the way
Yeah.
that one feels.
Yeah. And this gives you the ability to use that just for, maybe the first couple days.
Yeah.
And then pull off of it, and then even use it again to finish before she comes back, because it has the stem cell technology in it too, and other things. So that would be good.
Yeah.
Would we add anything else for her?
Well, she already has the daytime defense as well,
Yeah.
so
So she's good on that. The only thing I'm going back and forth with is if hyaluronic serum would be needed for her. But I think,
I think for the first one, maybe leave it.
exactly.
And then you could see.
Yeah.
Her next one, we might have to add in more hydration anyway. Then you're not adding another product, really. And the way she reacts and responds, I think she's probably going to be just great
I think
with
so
that.
too.
Yeah, and
that'd be
cucumber
good.
spritz will really help her hydration. So her post-care is really, really simple.
Yeah.
So now, why don't y'all explain how she's going to do that? So what is she going to do then
So-
tonight?
Yeah, so tonight when you go home, Lily, you're going to want to cleanse your face. You're going to be utilizing, thank you, Michelle. You're going to be utilizing the citrus gel cleanser. And, just like you were with the other cleanser, use maybe 2 pumps of the cleanser, very gently massage it into the skin, and then use your 4x4s, the 4x4 gauze to gently remove it. let your skin air dry, and then you're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start you with using your growth factor gel. So you're gonna go ahead and apply like 1 to 2 pumps of that, just gently press it, massage it into the skin. Don't do a lot of manipulation, just nice and gentle. And then just let it work its way into the skin. If you feel that you need additional hydration or your skin feels a little drier, you can always spritz a couple spritzes of cucumber spritz, and that should be good.
Oh, I use that a lot.
It's quite
I don't
popular.
think of it.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow morning, you're gonna follow the same routine with the cleanser, the growth factor, and then you're gonna just gently press in the daytime defense into your skin like you've already been doing. And then throughout the day, as you feel that you need hydration, the cucumber spritz will be there for you. Or when you start to peel, if you feel that you're gonna go and touch your face and pull at something, obviously just do a little spritz.
Yeah.
And so you'll keep doing that. You can, if you wanted to as well, we do have the C-gems in there. And so for the first couple of days, you can certainly add C-gems in day or night or both. And then when you get to probably around like day 6 or 7, you could bring the C-gems back in. And I would do, again, just do what feels right. If something feels a little too rich or too heavy or not enough, just let us know and we'll be more than happy to make some adjustments.
Yeah, and we'll write all that down
Yes,
for you.
absolutely.
So everything else that you have here, you don't use. You're only going to use this and the seed gems and your sunscreen only. Okay, so then we've done that. Now let's go through her any do's and don'ts. I don't know if that's in here, guys. I'm looking through, but any do's and don'ts that we need to tell her. And then, do you have any questions? I guess too, like even on your post care or what's going to go on with your skin over the next few days or anything like that?
So I would say, just so you know what our expectation is and what most likely you're going to experience is you may experience some dryness. You may experience a little bit of flaking. You may experience more like sunburn type flaking. Every time that you go to wash your face, whether you see it or not, your skin will be exfoliating, so you want to keep that in mind. Protection is key here. Utilizing these products, staying out of direct sunlight. If you can, like if you're going to get, luckily it's not going to be too hot, but if it were really hot out, letting the hot air out of the car before you get in it would be beneficial. Don't go opening up the oven. I know you do a lot of cooking, so have your husband or somebody else do the cooking for these next few days, so that way you really give your skin a chance.
Is that good or bad?
I love it.
They told me you have to cook, honey.
I have to protect my face. Not your stomach.
But those things really are things that sometimes we take for granted and we don't think is going to have an impact on our skin, but it can. And especially when we're targeting pigmentation, we really need to make sure that we stay away from heat. So no hot showers, no hot tubs, no hot baths.
Cold shower only.
It doesn't have to be
Warm.
cold, but
Warm.
Just the really hot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I like a really hot shower, and I have to remember to keep it more warm. So, keep your hair off of your face as well. Like that's going to be very important, which I know you usually do. And then the other thing that I did think about is because, working in the salon, and sometimes you guys wear masks, be sure that you don't wear a mask during this time either. I'd be real careful because sometimes the mask and the heat from you breathing into the mask can actually create that.
Like demarcation there too. Try to just keep as much as you can off of your face. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Anything else that I forgot there?
I think that was good. I mean, we'll give her the do's and don'ts, the full checklist that you can take with you. Do you have any questions?
Oh, yeah, I have one question. Like, after I use the sun protection, do I need to use the makeup again?
You can. If you want to, you don't have to. And you might leave your skin alone just for a couple days, but if you want to use that, you can. It's safe to use with peeling and that new skin and all of that.
Yeah, and one more question. With that one, sometimes when I put it on, it feel kind of wet. After
It feels a little heavier.
Well, feel kind of wet. Can I apply some of the loose powder on it to make it look
Yeah.
drier?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
so it
'cause
looks
it's
dewy.
hydrated.
And yeah, anyone with oily skin hates that, and dry skin, we're like, bring it on. Yeah, you could do that. You can do a little matte, and you could also apply it, I don't know if we want to tell her maybe with the sponge, because, I don't know, if you did. Oh, you're applying it with the brush?
The liquid or the powder?
Oh, I was thinking the liquid, because
The
that'll,
liquid, I put it on.
with
but
your
the
hands.
brush,
yeah, you can do, is it a mineral powder?
I have no idea. But
Because we just want to make sure that it's good ingredients for the powder to go over, especially during the peel. That's what we want to make sure of on that. And which you can let us know.
Because I haven't bought it yet, so I can buy whichever you want me to buy.
Oh, you haven't bought the powder yet? Oh, okay. Well, we can help you with that. Yeah.
And a clean makeup brush is really
I don't wear
important too.
makeup, so that's why. But it feels kind of weird after I put the makeup on, and I'm gonna go to the mall tonight anyway, so I can buy it at the mall.
Yeah,
Okay.
you could.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is, Caitlin, you were saying, a clean makeup brush, clean mineral makeup. Knowing your labels is important because you don't want to start putting something on that skin that's in that compromised state that could create sensitivity, irritation, and so forth.
Yeah.
And then obviously no bacteria so we want a nice clean makeup brush. But
Yeah.
we can help you out with that.
Yeah, we can help you with that too. Any other questions you might have? Okay. So then we would want her to sign her post-care signature form. That's the one that basically says that we've told her what to do. She understands. She'll call us if there's any problems, and we can deal with that. We want that to be in her file, and we'll have her sign that every peel that we do. And so you want that. You put that in their file, and then you know what treatment you did. Now, let's talk about quickly your return visit. We're thinking because we haven't seen your skin peel, timing and all of that, we probably want to go the full 2 weeks before we see you. Make sure you're completely done peeling, and we'll be able to do another peel on you. That will be the goal. At what level and all of that we'll decide then. So we'd like to do in 2 Tuesdays, which was the 9th, June 9th. I can't believe we're in June. Oh my gosh, June 9th, which is in 2 Tuesdays. Are you good with that as far as that day and all of that? And what about time? Is this time work good for you where it's like at 1 or? I know you kind of wanted a little earlier. That's just a little tough for us on a Tuesday because it's so busy in the morning.
A little bit later is okay too.
How about 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock.
Or would, yeah? Okay, so we'll do 2 o'clock then. So 2 o'clock on June 9th will be our next session. And I'm hoping we can do the melanin lift. That's kind of what I'm thinking would be really great for her, or a version of that. We will see, but that's kind of a true mid-depth peel, but we may stay in this range too. We'll see how it goes. So that's it. Anything else that you guys want to add in? Okay. All right, well, thank you, everyone, and thank you for joining us, and we will see you in a couple weeks, and please give us feedback whenever you can. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.